My name is Dominic Tarrant, and this is my final video for exercise 318. Here with my client. He came in today and complained of right ankle chronic ankle sprains. And to start, we did a static posture analysis. And as you can see on this right leg, there's a little bit of pronation here, leading to a little bit of slight knee varus in the right leg. That could be due to a overactive gastrocnemius as well as overactive peroneals and clear underactivity of the anterior and posterior tibialis. For the second test to assess overactive muscle use, I'm going to do a 3-point manual muscle test on my patient's anterior and posterior tibialis. So to start, we're going to do the anterior tibialis. So I'm going to ask you to lay on your back, please, and bend your knee. And do I have consent to touch you? Yes. Thank you. So I'm going to have him dorsiflex and invert his foot. And I'm going to ask you to push against my hand and try and push it back to the original position it was in. So he's really struggling on that one. So it's probably going to be a 1 for the anterior tibialis. Next, we're going to do the posterior tibialis. So let's plantar flex firmly and try and evert your foot. And now I need you to push back against this. So we have a little bit of resistance with a couple other muscles compensating, so that's going to be a 2 for me. We're going to have a 1 on the manual muscle testing for the anterior tibialis and a 2 on the manual muscle testing for the posterior tibialis. Analyzing the physical assessments, we came to a conclusion that our client had overactive use of his lateral gastrocnemius and peroneals, as well as underactivity of his posterior and anterior tibialis. We're going to start the corrective exercise continuum through some inhibition, and we're going to do a self-myofascial release with the foam roller. We're going to do it to his lateral gastrocnemius as well as the peroneals. So if you could put one leg on top of the other one, and if you could stretch that out for me for about 15 seconds and we switch. Following SMR of the lateral gastrocnemius, we're going to do SMR on the peroneals now. So I'm going to ask you to keep this about right here, but let's lay on our side with one leg on it. Cute. And yeah, cross this leg over for me, and then straighten this one out. And then yeah, work that most lateral portion of your leg. Following the inhibition phase, we're going to begin with the lengthening phase, and this is going to deal with some static stretching of the gastrocnemius. So what I'm asking my client to do is prop your foot up and try and create a 90-degree angle with the wall on the floor. And then I need you to get your chest as close to the wall as possible and really feel that like gastrocnemius stretch. He's going to hold this for about 15 seconds, and we're going to do it 4 times to complete the lengthening phase. To start the activation phase, we're going to use 3 separate resistance bands, and we're going to work our client's posterior and anterior tibialis so that it can catch up to the rest of the overactive muscles. So what I'm going to have to do is you can stay sitting up, but I'm going to put this band right against here, and I want you to dorsiflex against the resistance. And we're going to do 5 sets of these before we increase the resistance. That was the anterior tibialis exercise, and right now we're about to do the posterior one. This is going to be very similar to the previous one, but rather than going this way against resistance, he's going to be having resistance pulling him this way, and he's going to have to push his foot this way. So I'm going to put one band around his foot, and I'm going to hand it to him, and I'm going to have him try and plantar flex as much as possible. And after 5 to 10 reps, we're going to increase the resistance. Of the corrective exercise continuum, the integration phase, I'm going to really focus on my client's right ankle stability. So I'm gonna have him stand between these 3 cones, lift one leg up, balance on his right leg. I'm gonna have him push these cones as far as he can in each direction. Then I'm gonna reset the cones, and then we're gonna see if we can push it any further. Just, push the cone forward, and then to the side, and then there's one right behind you. And then now, well, if you're gonna push it, then now we have to keep touching them because we have to do a couple of sets. As you can see, still some clear ankle instability. That is going to conclude our corrective exercise continuum. I'd like to thank my client, Landon, for helping me and allowing me to help cure his chronic right ankle instability. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I also wanted to conclude by referencing and thanking the National Academy of Sports Medicine corrective exercise training book that I use as my reference for this assignment. I will leave the link to that under the video. And thank you again for listening.